Hi, I'm David, the Fishing Pastor, and I want to talk to you today about bobber panfish fishing. In one of my other videos, I'm catching some pretty good sized bluegill and red ear sunfish, or if you know them as shell crackers. And I just want to show you what I was using and what my setup was in order to be able to easily catch those, and anybody can do this. You can take your kids out to do this, and it's a whole lot of fun, and you can catch a whole lot of fish, and some really nice ones too. So let me show you what I'm using, and my whole setup, and even the bait that I'm using for that.
There we go. There's another one. This one's another big one. Another monster. Jeez, you see that? These fish are enormous.
So when it comes to panfish fishing, generally you're talking about bluegill, crappie, but you have a whole bunch of different types. You have red ear sunfish, you have long ear sunfish, you have red breast sunfish, you have pumpkin seeds, green sunfish, all those different kinds. And this generally works for the most of them. I mostly have bluegill in my area and some black crappie and then some red ear sunfish. So that's what I target and what I've seen this works for specifically, but it should work for any kind of panfish really. And you can use a whole bunch of different things. You can use live bait, you can use night crawlers, you can use wax worms, you can use maggots, you can use a whole bunch of different things. And I've used them all. I've even seen people using beef jerky and Slim Jims and things like that. So they'll really bite almost anything. But I just want to talk to you about using artificial bait and bobbers specifically. And I just want to show you what I use. And again, you know, in one of my other videos, I was catching some nice ones. They were ranging about 7.5 to 8.5 inches, which are some pretty good size bluegill and red ear sunfish. And so I used to use a lot of wax worms. I would buy the little tubs from like a pet store or wherever I could find them. And they work great. They stay on the hook great, but the thing is you have to keep them alive, and once you run out, you know, there's not too many in a tub. They die. You have to go buy new ones, and it can get kind of pricey. So what I did was I wanted to find a substitute that was artificial, and so I did. I went out and I found the Berkley Gulp, and these are the maggots, and they look a whole lot like the wax worms. And my bottle's running out because I use them so much, but they come in a pretty full bottle. And they work great. That video that I did where I'm catching all those big bluegill and shell crackers, this is the only thing I was using. And they really do bite. And the great thing is they stay on the hook pretty well. You can usually catch a few fish. If you hook them well and just kind of thread it through, you can usually catch you know, a few of them at least. Sometimes they'll steal them off and you have to switch them up. But the good thing is that because you have the bottle, it's pretty full, so you won't run out as quick as if you were using wax worms or night crawlers or anything like that. So that's what I use. Another alternative is these Berkley Gulp Earthworms. And these look pretty realistic. I don't use them as much because I use the maggots so much, but since I'm running out, I think I'm going to start using these more and see how they work. They have this liquid inside that keeps them fresh so they don't dry out, and again look super real. And then the last thing that I use for artificial are these Gulp Alive minnows. These are the 1-inch minnows, and these are in the Luma Glow color. And these work great. Not so much for smaller bluegill. I mean, if they're bigger ones, they'll get it. But I use these primarily for crappie. And then I'm going to show you how I set them up and how I rig them. But these work great. And again, catch multiple fish on one minnow. Usually, the most I'll use in a 4 to 5 hour session usually is about 4 minnows. And that's a lot. You know, usually I'll just use about 2. So they stay on the hook really, really well, and they catch a whole bunch of fish. They have multiple colors. These do come in a liquid because they do dry out. But these are great. And each little canister, each little bottle, I think is between $3 and $5. They're not really that expensive. So you can do a whole lot with these. These are amazing things to use. And again, they're a great alternative to live bait that again you have to keep fresh, you have to keep alive, and then it can get pricey because they're dying and you're having to buy more as opposed to a bottle that you don't have to keep alive. You just kind of store it and don't have to keep them in fridge or anything. And again, they work great. So let me show you some other things that I use that can help you get set up right away to catching some pretty good panfish.